Welcome to video 2 of the Squash and Stretch series. I hope you guys enjoyed video 1, where we analyzed 2 different clips of what I thought were pretty good examples of this principle. And on this video, I wanted to show you guys a quick animation example. I'll make an animation, and as I draw, I'll go step by step with you guys and explain my thought process while doing this. So for this video, we're going to have the action in 50 frames. So just so I could show you how we're going to do this, we're going to start from frame 1 and draw the same frame on frame 50, so that once we're done animating all the frames, we could loop it, and it'll be a loop between 1 and 50, kind of like in a cycle. We're going to imagine that this right here is the middle frame 25, and frame 1 to 25, like let's say if we go in here and make frame 9, I just wanted to let you guys know that each frame from here to here will be frame 1. Each frame, so 2, 3, 4, 5, is all going to be this one image. So I bet you guys are wondering what this floating skull here is for. I actually came up with this idea while I was stuffing my face instead of editing. I was thinking about the stretching and compressing parts of my cheek muscles, and yeah, it was right then and there I thought of the idea for this video. So for this animation example, I want you guys to really visualize that up and down and side to side motion, and that squash and stretch that takes place when you're chewing on food. So yeah, I pretty much want to just make a character doing that chewing motion, and I figured to stick with a kind of classic cartoon style of animation. So yeah, I'm just gonna draw that character and go step by step with you guys. So my thought process on this is pretty much sticking to like basic shapes. Not really worried about like overlapping the lines or anything, because I could always just go back and erase through. As I draw, you might see me flip back to some previous doodles that I drew of this character, because I wanted to get a better idea of him. Before we do anything, we're actually going to skip ahead and copy and paste frame 1 all the way down to frame 50. Remember how I said earlier we're going to loop this animation, so once you press play, it'll just kind of go on an endless loop. That's what we want in the end. So we're going to copy and paste the first frame here onto the next frame, which will be frame 9. And we're just going to erase the arm and the head, since that's pretty much the only thing that's moving here. You'll see me put 2 there, but it's actually on frame 9. Yeah, on frame 9, we're really just gonna want to have that him opening his mouth and then biting down, and then the rest of the animation is we'll have him chewing, and that's really where you'll get to see that squash and stretch in action. Moving on to frame 15. On this frame, we're gonna have him biting down, and you can notice his head kind of squashing in as he bites down. Again, we're going to copy and paste that first frame. And I don't really want you guys to get too used to this, but for this kind of practice, we don't really have to worry about that, because we're just really trying to practice as fast as we can. But like I said, on later lessons, we're going to really want to draw those different transitions to make a more smooth animation. If you copy and paste too many frames, it'll make it look choppy and not as smooth. On frame 18, we're going to want him to go back to a neutral state, with that chunk of watermelon being on this other side of his mouth. On frame 21, we're going to have him move that chunk to the other side of his mouth. As he's chewing it, he's moving it from side to side to kind of make more room. See how I'm pushing the sides of his face inward and elongating the top of his head and the bottom of his chin, like up and down. We're pretty much repeating that same idea with 25 and frame 30, but just moving the opposite direction. Right here you see, as we're following the motion, the path of his jaw really just moves that piece to the other side. On frame 39, we want to tilt his head back because he's getting ready to swallow that piece of watermelon. And over here on frame 42, we're really stretching out his skull to kind of give off that impression that he's like stretching out his neck to swallow. It's exaggerated, but that's what we want in this very cartoony style here, of just shoulders going back, neck extending to just gulp down that piece. Playing it back, we could kind of see it come to life more. You know, it's choppy, it's rough, but we could see what's going on from frame 1 to frame 50. We're getting the timing and the spacing as we're doing this, and the more we play it back to back, we could scrub through those frames and see like little inconsistencies or things that we want to change. Like right here on frame 25, I noticed in this frame I was showing you guys that I wanted to move that trunk there, but I lost a good opportunity to really like squash that mass in there. So, but you know, no worries. Like I said, we could just go in and we could change that. For frame 45, we're pretty much just gonna have his head drooping down back to that state where he wasn't on frame 1. Frames 48 and 49 are just a copy of frame 50. The only real thing that we change is the direction of the eyes here, looking downwards. Now you have this rough animation to work from, and hopefully we've like conveyed that squash and stretch. Yeah, so now that you see that you have this here, you could go back and put in whatever in-betweens that you want. So yeah, we're just gonna go back into the animation and add some in-betweens between frames 21 and 25. And then we're gonna do the same thing for 25 to frame 30, just to make the animation go smoother, and we'll just see how that turns out in the end. When we actually play it all the way through, you see that it's more fluid this time around. You could really do whatever you want with this rough here. You could just keep adding in-betweens, just try to see how smooth you can make those transitions. But really what I wanted to show you guys here is the principle of squash and stretch, and also to show you how to be mindful of the spacing and timing between frame 1 and frame 50. Well, thank you guys so much for tuning in to part 2 of Squash and Stretch. If you guys are enjoying what you're seeing so far, you don't have to smash that like button or anything, you could just graciously click on it. And make sure to stick around for part 3 of Squash and Stretch.